Yeah. I think we've solved it now. So this seminar is an introduction to Open Philately. I know there might be experienced exhibitors here, so I'm just saying that it can also be a refresher for philatelists already collecting or even exhibiting. And I know there are some here. I need to press the buttons.
Ask me to press the buttons and stand. Maybe it is hard to hear. Doing the technique here.
Yeah.
Next, please.
Yes. Yeah. And if you have any questions, is the speaker working? The speaker isn't working.
This one?
Well, the one you put on here.
Well, it's for the recording of.
So there's no microphone.
It's not a mic. We have no microphones.
Okay. So good to know. If you have any questions, I'd be grateful if you would remember them, and we'll do questions at the end, because otherwise it goes into the flow of the story. Next, please. So welcome to all philatelists, stamp collectors, postal historians, or collectors of anything, because most of us collect other things, not just philately. Yes. So how do we move from being a collector, where we all start, of philately, to displaying your material? Join a local club. Meet like-minded people, discuss your material, learn from each other, and not least, enjoy the socializing with like-minded people. Learn how to write up your material and study other members. There are a number of very fine Open Philately exhibits at this exhibition, and I'll just advise you, go and have a look and learn. If you see a good idea, say, I can use that in my exhibits, and just use it. It's a compliment to the exhibitor if you find a good idea and you use it as well. And you can read magazines, articles, and books about this topic you want to develop. It's important to have as much background knowledge as possible. And when you go to a local meeting, bring a few pages, show them to the other people, and take their advice and share. Next. So how is exhibiting different from displaying? Displaying is often what you do at local clubs. Exhibiting is what you do at officially organized events like this one. And such events have got guidelines for the different classes. They will be judged by accredited judges, and points and medals would be awarded. But we all start off collecting, displaying, and then if we still want to do more, we can go into exhibiting. Yes. Thank you. But, you know, to go back, how to get started with an Open Philately collection, display, or exhibit. Choose a subject, something you are interested in. It might be another hobby you have. It could be a sport. It could be anything. And if you want to build an Open Philately collection or exhibit, make sure that it's a topic where there is enough material. And if you want to go into exhibiting, you should study the guidelines for the exhibiting in Open Philately. And I'll come back to that. So make a plan where you have a storyline, The storyline is the most important thing. Beginning, middle, and end. And that will help you when you start writing up and getting your material sorted out. You know, spread it out, look at what you have got, sort it out, and then it might help you to find a good storyline. And remember, you'll need much more material than, say, the 32 items you need to fill 16 pages. You need much more. Yes. I often get asked if an open philately exhibit needs to be expensive. It doesn't have to. And we all start with the things we can afford. Maybe we can buy a few more expensive things. But I learned many years ago from a very famous Danish philatelist that there are what you call free or gratis points, something that doesn't cost anything. Because if you look here, I go through the different criteria, and the introductory page, your plan, it's all your own work. That doesn't cost anything. The treatment is your choice of material, how you write it up. That's up to you. That's your 20 points. Knowledge is how much you know about the subject, and research is also up to you. So now you are up to 30, 65 points. You got your presentation, which is 5. So you're up to 70 out of 100 points without it cost anything. And when I learned that, I thought, well, that is brilliant. That is encouraging. If you want to go into really looking at higher points, then it may cost, because condition can be more better condition, the more expensive. And of course, rarity, unless you are very lucky and find something that the dealer doesn't know about. Yeah. So that was kind of the beginning. We have the next one. So I will first talk a little bit about the guidelines, and then I'll go into the categories where the points are. Next, please. Yeah, again, you do. Sometimes I only have the heading. So the guidelines for exhibiting have been drafted so they obviously can help the jury, but just as much it helps the exhibitors, because it's two sides of the same coin. Yeah. And again. And the rules are 2. This is the first one. The philatelic material must be at least 50% of the exhibits. Next. And the non-philatelic material may be up to 50%. It's recommended that it's not a requirement that the non-philatelic material is up to 50%, but we recommend it, yes, because the variety of the non-philatelic material is really important to get good points for your non-philatelic material. Yeah. Yes. So the principles is the dual aspect of the philatelic and the non-philatelic aspect. And that's what makes open philately different from all the other classes where you can exhibit. Yeah. Yeah. So open philately exhibits may include all types of philatelic material that are included in all the other philatelic classes that some of you may already know about or even exhibit in. Yeah. The non-philatelic material may include all types of items, excluding, of course, kind of dangerous and prohibited material. And they must be relevant to your chosen topic. Both the philatelic and the non-philatelic items must be described, the philatelic in proper philatelic terms, as would have been done in any other class. And the next non-philatelic items must be, of course, as I said, relevant, they must be described properly, and they must assist the development of your storyline. And exhibits can be planned differently. It's up to you how you choose your storyline as well. It can be chronologically, geographically, or any other way that the exhibitor feels is good for his or her exhibit. Yeah. This is the judging criteria. And as I just went through, you can see there's a treatment, title, plan, development, adding up to 30, knowledge and research, adding up to 35, material 30, presentation 5. That distribution of points is exactly the same as all other classes except thematic, philately, and postcards. Yes. There might be a development coming up, but it will be at least 2 years. So I suggest you just forget about that one. Yeah, and where can you find the guidelines? On the FIP, that's the International Federation for Philately. And if you click in on that, and then onto the website, which is there, you don't need to write it out. I'll give it to you later on. And then you click on regulations and guidelines, and then you get Open Philately. So that's where you can find it. Yeah. Just to relax and look at a picture for a moment. It's just an example of lots of different non-philatelic things that you can use in your exhibits. Those just happen to be from some of my exhibits, but it's just an example. Yes. And I will just answer 3 of the most asked questions, because that might save us time. Yes. How do I measure the philatelic material in relation to the non-philatelic material? Yes. Don't try to work out the percentages of the items, how much they cover on the page. Don't count the different items. Look at the page, look at the frame, take a step back and look at the overall. And then, you can see if it has the proper the proportion between the philatelic and the non-philatelic material. Yeah. Are postcards philatelic or non-philatelic? Yes. It depends. If you show the picture side of the picture postcards in an open philately exhibit, it is a non-philatelic item. If you show the address side, because that is what you want to show, it might be the sender or the recipient's name or something like that, then it is philatelic. It's very simple. Most postcards in open philately exhibits are shown with the illustrated picture side on, so it'll be non-philatelic. So how important is the variety of non-philatelic material? I said it may be up to 50%, and I just repeat that the variety is what will give you good points. It's not enough to have a few postcards, maybe a medal or something. You need to have a real variety, and it's something judges look for. So that's the most asked questions. Yeah. Yes, let's get on to the next one. Yes, treatment. And I'll talk a little bit, I'll give a bit of the text, and then I'll give illustrations in between so we can see what I think it looks like when you have done a page. So the title defines the scope of your exhibit, the plan defines the structure, and the exhibit covers all the major aspects relevant to the title. The title is really important to get right. Yeah. The development or the treatment should explain the subject in depth, aiming to achieve an arrangement of the material which is fully compliant with your plan. Yes. And the point for the title and plan it's the 10%, 10 points, sorry. And the points for the development or treatment are 20, so that's your first 30. Yeah. So the introductory or title page should show the aim and the purpose of the exhibit, and maybe a bit of relevant general information on a subject that's being developed, just to give the judge a little bit of feeling, because they can't know all the fantastic themes or subjects that Open Philately exhibitors can think of. A plan explaining the structure of the exhibit, and this plan should not include an extensive text, but a logical division of the subject into sections, because that helps to get an overview. Yeah. And of course, an indication of which items are rare or of special interest, or what you think very significant. And that should be highlighted in some way in your exhibit, because otherwise the judges can't possibly know what is special for you. And if you have done any personal research for something that nobody else has done before, or you have written an article in a philatelic magazine, or even a book, get it on there, because that's what indicates, say, your research and your knowledge. And in the brief bibliography, that's where you put these things in. Not everything you have read, but the most important things. And also, if you're using the website, Google or whatever, that should be indicated as well. Yeah. There's an example of a title page, and you can see there is the purpose of the exhibit at the top, an illustration, a plan, a bibliography, and an indication of what is rare. Depending on the size of your pages, it is good to have an illustration on your front page, because it is eye-catching, not just for the judges, but for the general public coming to an exhibition, or your philatelic friends. Oh, that's an interesting illustration. I want to just see what it's about. Next. And similar with this one, you see, it's a history and culture and the business of tea. And again, it tells what the exhibit sets out to do. It's got illustration and a very comprehensive plan. Yeah. Next. So the exhibit should tell a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, just like writing essays at school. And yeah, the headings in the plan should be the same as the headings you put on the individual pages. Yeah. The plan should not be a list of content, but maybe some brief paragraphs, just providing keywords and terms for the chapter or the section, however you have divided up your exhibit. Yeah. Adding frame numbers and or page numbers on your plan might be very helpful to find the section that you want to look, especially to look at. There's another introductory page, and you can see you got the aim of the exhibit, the structure. There's a little bit of general knowledge about the material. I got illustration there, and you probably can't see it at this distance, but it has got a little mark indicating it is a significant item. It's a little red tick in a little red box. It's quite discreet, because in Europe, we are quite shy and very discreet. If you exhibit in the USA, you put a big red tick on because you really want to show it. So the development is the relationship between the title, the scope, and the structure, and also the choice of material. So I will be repeating some of these things because you all know that's very good teaching. Yeah. So the exhibit can be developed chronological, geographical, and so on, just how the exhibitor feel is most appropriate for his or her subjects. Yeah. And the headings or subheadings, which is very good. You have the heading at the left-hand side of your page, you have the subheading on your right-hand side, as you have it in the plan, and you have it on the individual pages. And it really helps, not just for the people who look at it, but also for you when you're making up your storyline, that you can follow it. And of course, the item you choose must be relevant to the story. It must bring your story forward. Yeah. Yeah. And concise and clear text should be for every single item. And it should be appropriate information on the topic. Well, not too much, but enough to describe the item. And sometimes in Open Philately, if it's appropriate, you might take a sentence or a little extract from a letter, because that really explains things, and it kind of brings home this is real. It's, you know, evidence because it's there. And of course, as I said, everything must have a text. That is an example of a page where you see that just happens to be about 50% philatelic and up to 50% of non-philatelic material. You've got the postcard, you've got labels, and then you've got 2 letters and a miniature seeds. So you're not counting the items, you're not measuring. You look at it and say, yes, that's about right. And here's a few more examples. And here you can clearly see you have got a heading of this section to the left, and then you've got subheadings to the right, and that continues your storyline. And the next, similar here, you see that lots of variety of material there, and it also brings the story forward. And next. And again, there you have got philatelic, non-philatelic material, and it all brings the story to life. Yeah. Knowledge and research. Knowledge is documented through the choice of material and the use of brief but sufficient text. It's all the things you have read about, that you have in your head, the knowledge that you can then bring to bear on the storyline. Yeah. Research should be interpreted in a wider sense and generally show the exhibitor's thorough knowledge of the subject and the material. And yeah, philatelic knowledge and research is 20 points. Non-philatelic knowledge and research is 15 points. So you see that's your next 25 points. Yeah. Here we are. And knowledge is shown in the choice of both types of material. It's a collective knowledge, as I said, that you have gained through all the things you have read about your topic. Yeah. And here is an example of that. And if you look at this, you can see here you've got some very interesting philatelic items. There's the Mulready cover, and then you have got a little study at the bottom left of the development of that, the production of that stamp. Next. Here it happens to be a page that is purely philatelic, so you can have that. Then there might be another page that is purely non-philatelic, but when you look at a frame as a whole, it normally kind of can add up. So you can do that kind of thing. And it's simply because that is about the occupation of Denmark, and it is important philatelic dates for the post that is shown there. Next. And here you have got good examples of knowledge of non-philatelic material. In the top right corner, it tells in the text a bit of a story, which is background for the story that then follows in the headings. Yeah. And again, here you can see there is quite a large non-philatelic item at the bottom, but it matches up with the miniature sheet at the top, which all Danish collectors will know. So you have the matching up between the philatelic and the non-philatelic material. Yeah. So research is knowledge, and knowledge presented from a different angle, maybe a new angle, and something that has not previously been published. And as I said, try and write even a small article in a philatelic magazine. You can put on the bibliography, and then the judges know, well, there's been some research done there. That's good. Yeah, next. And here is a good example of philatelic knowledge. Unfortunately, you can't see the whole story, and I won't read it all out, but it's a very complex story of how this letter came from its sender to its recipients. And it has taken a lot of research to work that one out, I know. The next one. Again, there's a lot of philatelic knowledge here. And in the middle to the right, you can see there is, again, a little mini study of a stamp. Yeah. And here, again, you've got a page where you have got an interesting non-philatelic item in the bottom corner. You go into what that miniature sheet there shows, because it's a whole story that then comes up there. And the next, I said there might be a page that is full of non-philatelic material, and there is an example. There's not a single philatelic item there, but there is around it, so it works out on a frame. Yeah. The material must be original. All philatelic material must be original. It's the same as in all other classes, nothing new there. Yes. All non-philatelic material should be original where at all possible, but use a variety of non-philatelic material. There can be a very famous painting that shows exactly what you want to show in your storyline, but you have never been able to find anything. So exceptionally, you could take a scan. The same can be a scan of something you find on the web, but just be careful that there isn't anything original around, because there might just be a judge who knows that and said, you should have been using the original. But always give the sources if you do that. Yeah. And of course, all the material, philatelic and non-philatelic, should be in the best possible condition. It can be very difficult to judge in non-philatelic material, so you have got to indicate to the judges if that is the best condition, and also how rare it might be, which we come to. Yeah. Yes, I just said that, tell why. And if you use reproductions, they should be at least 25% in difference from the original. It's the same as other classes, so there's nothing new there. And that is the condition is the 10 points. Yeah. And rarity is the 20, and that gives you the 30. And I say that is the point where it might cost a little bit more. But, you've already got all the other points. Yeah. Yeah, it gives a bit of an indication of of what we mean by the quality. And obviously, philatelic material can be compared with the quality of similar material in other classes. But get the best you can afford to buy at any time in your collecting life. That's the way we all start. And then one day you might see something that's a better quality, and then you just swap them and you sell the other one. And the same thing is with the quality of non-philatelic material. And here I've got some examples. Obviously, that is an example where both the philatelic and the non-philatelic are in top condition. And it looks good, and you've got both philatelic and non-philatelic, very nicely proportioned page. Yeah. Yeah, I've already mentioned that rarity can be really difficult to assess for the judges, and we have got to help them. And there's just a couple of little examples of how you can indicate that. You can use little symbols, or you can use a thicker frame around your item, or you can use a different color. It's all up to you how you think it fits your subject best. And there is an item, well, actually, all the items on this page are rare. And so, you see they have got fairly thick, fat, black frames round. Yeah. And there's another one that is, it may look a little bit non-philatelic, but it isn't, because you've got the artwork that was chosen on the left, and in the middle of the right, it's artwork that was provided for the competition for that series of stamps. And then there's a photograph and a coin. And I should just show you this. This is a piece of railway line from a railway sabotage in northwest Jutland during the Second World War. And the little photograph down there is a picture of a railway sabotage. What I can't prove is that this is from one of the holes there, but my source that this is for real and that is for real is okay. But it's too big to put in the exhibit, so I can only show it if I do a talk. Yes. And yeah, this is going to be what I think is very rare illustration. And there's 3 slides to this, and it shows the initial ideas for a drawing in the next one. And then you get a little bit more detail on this one. And on the next one, you get the full thing. And I think even if it takes 3 pages, if I was the exhibitor, I would show all 3 pages because it's so illustrative. Yeah. And presentation, just 5 points, but it can color the whole impression. If you go up to an exhibit and it looks good, you think, I'm going to look more at that. Yeah, appealing, well balanced by sheet, by frame, and overall. I said, take a step back from the frame. But in an exhibition where you're lucky, you might have all 5 or 8 frames, and you can stand and say, yes, that's definitely 5 points. Yeah, there is a problem, as I just said. If it's more than 5 millimeters, you might have a problem if the plexiglass is not flexible enough. And that's your 5 points. Yeah. And yes, just, choose the appropriate size paper. I use A3 or something very similar, because lots of the non-philatelic material are sizes that are difficult to fit on your ordinary A4. There's also, in this example, some of the pages were kind of like, you got 3 across. It's kind of a medium size, and that can be very good as well. And of course, don't use colored paper. Some exhibitions actually forbid it. And I suggest don't use bleached white paper, because particularly on older items, it makes them look more unclean, let us say, if it's up against bleached white. So a light cream often sets your material out much better. And also use a typeface that are easy to read. I'm just mentioning some there. They're slightly different, and you have got Lucida Sans, Jill Sans, Arial, which is very common. And there's, of course, Times New Roman. Particularly, I'd say if you use older, much older material, because it's a more traditional type, it might suit your material better. But don't use a lot of different typefaces. I prefer to use one for the basic stuff and one for the background. And you can just emphasize the same typeface with bold or italics, or maybe just, if it's very special, as you saw some of this, I had it in red. You can do that as well, but keep the number of typefaces down. And if you have tried to do something, you'll know that the layout in Open Philately can be very, very challenging. And you just kind of lay it out on a table, move it around, or with a computer, of course, it's dead easy. You can move it around. And just a couple of final pages. And there's one there. It's very simple layout, but it's very clear, and it's very calm to look at. Next. Again, here you've got quite a lot on that. That's an A3 page. But the way that the larger items kind of goes to the margin and, in a sense, frames the whole page is another good way of doing it. And then there is a final page. It's only got one philatelic item on, but it's the last page in an exhibit. It happens to be mine, and I love it. But it's the last impression the judges get of your exhibit. So always have a large page with something eye-catching, a good finish, because sometimes you've got a natural end to your story, and get that in on your final item. I just show interesting, funny things that you can put in your exhibit. This is some of you, at least the Danes, will know what it is. These were crocheted during the war, and people could wear them, but the Gestapo didn't like it. But I was very lucky to get that in an auction not that long time ago. And I was very pleased to get it. And the auctioneer said, it was the best item in that particular auction. And I got it. And of course, you put it on, like that. So, and I've got in my exhibit, I've actually got a photograph with a young girl who is picked up, and the Gestapo sends to the Danish police officer. You write her name down and tell her off. So that's it. And this is just to give you a laugh. The Danes will know that was the leader of the Danish Nazi Party. And you cut them up and put strings in, and then you pull them, and then they kind of. So that's just a bit of fun, because we should have fun with our philately as well. Yes, next. Just crediting the other Open Philately exhibitors whose pages I have been using here. And the last one. That is the last one.
That's the last.
Thank you very much for coming.